Yo, what's good? Freedom marchers, freedom family, freedom lovers, and freedom fighters. It's your boy Tyrants Bane, aka The Definition, aka Snapzilla Gorilla, coming at y'all with a quick live stream in regards to your boy Donald and the major obstacle he's going to have to face when he starts his presidency. All right. Now, this is very crucial because there are a lot of you out there, a lot of you Trump supporters who believe that Trump is going to do all this shit, including protect the Second Amendment, all this, that, and the third. But now he has to contend with the new majority leader, John Thune, out of South Dakota. Why? John Thune's a Republican, right? So automatically, if they're a Republican, they're going to be for Trump's agenda, right? That's the, that's what they're saying. That's what people tend to believe. But in reality, that may not be the case. Why? Well, because John Thune has a particular record when it comes to certain bills, when it comes to certain actions of the Senate, right? Because again, people believe that Donald Trump is going to come through on his white horse and protect all our freedoms, give us all our freedoms back and all this bullshit. Well, it's not actually bullshit. It's actually good shit if that's a reality. But we all know what's up. Shaquilla, what's good, Queen Shaquilla? Thank you for coming through. Dead Mike in the building. What's good, my black soldier? What's good, Dead Mike, man? You funny as hell. So here's the thing. People tend to forget, right? Or do they? Do they have any idea about civics? I don't know. But people have this belief that Donald Trump is going to do all these things on both sides, on the left and the right? And people forget that Donald Trump had a term already. He already served a 4-year term as president of the United States. And so the things that people are afraid that he's going to do or believe that or optimistic about him doing, why would that change now? Right? Because if I recall correctly, the Republicans had control of the House and the Senate back in his first 2 years of his presidency. And then in the second 2 years, I think that the House flipped back to, the Democrats and all this, that, and third. Unleavened Evan was good. You see, now, from the statist perspective, which is what I'm speaking from, this is a problem, right? Donald Trump was hamstrung, right? Because there were a lot of Republicans who did not like Donald Trump. Remember those people, the Never Trumpers? They called them the Never Trumpers, and they were pegged as rhinos and all this, that, and the third. Rhino meaning Republican in name only, right? Because they went against Donald Trump, just period, because they thought he was a clown. They thought he was an actor. They didn't take him seriously as a politician. So they really did not have a lot of love for him. It's a little different now, but not really, right? Because if they did have a little more love for Donald Trump, why would they pick a majority leader that vehemently spoke out against Donald Trump in regards to the January 6th situation, called him an insurrectionist, and that there was no excuses, right? This guy called Donald Trump an insurrectionist. And also, his record of voting for certain acts is questionable at best, right? He voted in favor of the undetected firearms, or undetected guns. I forgot, Undetectable Firearms Act. He voted for that, which is basically this ghost gun bullshit, right? If you're not able to detect the gun, or if it's undetectable, then Yeah, he voted for that. He voted against our right to keep and bear arms. He also voted to have, gun violence research bullshit, which would put money into, gun violence research and tie it to public health so that they could use the public health bullshit to further strip you of your right to keep and bear arms. This is what John Thune has done. And so, as majority leader, he decides what is brought to the floor for a vote, right? It has to go through him. And if they bring any legislation that would chip away at gun control, well, we have to wonder if he'll actually bring it to the floor for a vote. We have to wonder that. And so, yeah, pretty much the Senate told Donald Trump to suck a fat one, right? I think he wanted Senator Scott, which I don't, and that's another thing. Senator Scott actually voted for red flag laws in Florida. Yeah. A law that they have abused thousands of times in Florida. Yeah. So Donald Trump didn't even, I believe he wanted Senator Scott out of Florida. That was the one he was pushing for. And, this guy voted for red flag laws in goddamn Florida. And, we know that law is bullshit. We know that is completely restrictive. It's a complete violation of our right to keep and bear arms. And I don't understand why he would want that guy in place, right? So, but all candidates for the majority leader position, they were all ass anyway in regards to the Second Amendment. They were all what could be considered to be a rhino, right? And so I don't know how easy it's going to be for Donald Trump to protect our rights to keep and bear arms when we have a Senate majority leader who voted against our right to keep and bear arms. He voted for gun control. So I don't know where we go from here, right? But I can tell you this. Donald Trump actually has a path and standing to restore every single gun right. He has the standing and a path to remove every gun control law that has ever existed in this country. You know how? Well, there are 2 U.S. codes. And it's not just the right to keep bear arms. There's other rights, so he can restore every single right, right? Every single human right can be restored with 2 U.S. codes. 18 U.S. Code 241 and 18 U.S. Code 242. 18 U.S. Code 241 is in regards to basically conspiracy to deprive the rights of the individual, right? Conspiracy to deprive the rights, deprive rights under the color of law, right? Under the color of law, meaning if you conspire to violate someone's rights, right? If you conspire to violate someone's rights and you try to use law, you try to say, well, it's the law, to do so, you have violated this code, right? So you can't just pass any old law willy-nilly, even if it goes through the both chambers of the House and is signed by the president. If it's violative of your rights, it is going against that code and you can get jail time for it. And 18 U.S. Code 242 refers to deprivation of rights under the color of law. So that means that once they sign into law a bill that would deprive you of your rights, anyone that enforces that law has violated that code and can serve time in prison. Yeah. But So let's say for 18 U.S. Code, 18 U.S. 242, a police officer, right, uses that law to place you under arrest. That is kidnapping. So if you kidnap an individual or harm them physically or kill them, you can yourself be sentenced to death. Yeah, that's what that code calls for. And if you violate 18 U.S. Code 241, and the result of that, let's say someone dies or is kidnapped as a result of you signing that into law, you can also be put to death. You can get the death penalty based on both these codes. Well, guess what? Donald Trump is the leader of the executive branch, right? And the executive branch of this government is responsible for enforcing laws. So Donald Trump can cite 18 U.S. Code 241 and 242. He can use that to restore every single right that we have as human beings, including the right to keep and bear arms, including the right to free speech, right to privacy, right? Not to be taxed through your payroll, right? There are thousands and thousands of rights that are being violated every single day under the color of law. And Donald Trump can use those codes to let it be known that you will not enforce these laws, right? You will not, and he will have standing, because guess what? These laws violate every single right. There are laws that violate every single right. Every single one. Yeah. If Trump was about that life, he would use those codes to restore every single right that the government has violated or taken away. Yeah. That's what he could do. So in reality, since every single gun control law is violative, he could let it be known that my enforcers, the ATF, FBI, the federal law enforcement, we will not be violating these people's rights based on these laws. So therefore, we will not enforce them. And he can make this apply to every single state. Yep. Through the Supremacy Clause. So he can use the Supremacy Clause. It's in the Constitution. Just so y'all know. If you don't know what the Supremacy Clause is, it's basically the Supremacy Clause gives the federal government jurisdiction, right? It gives them supremacy over certain things, right? That the state cannot violate. Basically, it supersedes the state laws, or it supersedes the state's certain things, right? Particularly anything in the Bill of Rights, and not to mention enumerated rights that are not enumerated in the Constitution are still the rights of every human being. It doesn't have to be in the Constitution. If it's a human right, it shall not be violated. That would give Donald Trump standing to use the Supremacy Clause to restore, to let it be known that every local, city, state, federal government agency that are in charge of, enforcing laws will not enforce certain laws that violate the rights of the human being, right? And listen, let's use common sense, all right? We're not talking about actual criminals, right? We're not talking about protecting the rights of actual criminals who violate other people's rights. right? That cause harm to other people. We're not talking about those people. We're talking about people that mind their own business, that are doing their own thing that's not hurting anybody else. That's what we're talking about. Talking about, a motherfucker that's murdering people. No, they don't have no rights. If you go around murdering people in cold blood for no reason, you don't get to exercise your rights. You need to be put in the ground. That's what needs to happen. So it doesn't apply to them. It applies to people that want to, carry their firearms as they see fit, that want to say what they want to fucking say, without being chastised and censored and all that shit. Motherfuckers that want to, whatever you want to do, that is within your own realm of influence, that doesn't harm anybody. You want to smoke some weed? Hey, any law that prohibits marijuana or any drug, hey, that shit has to stop being enforced. That's how it works. That's how it should work. It's a right. It is your right to smoke some fucking weed. It's your motherfucking body. And you want to smoke some weed, go ahead and do it. That's your business. You want to snort cocaine? That's on you. You want to shoot up heroin? But as soon as your habit causes you to start violating other people, that is when it's a problem. So, Donald Trump has an avenue to ensure that this Senate Majority Leader does not stop his agenda. If his agenda is to ensure that everyone is free, and everyone is free, like everyone should enjoy their freedoms, enjoy their rights to keep and bear arms, to free speech, to congregate, to gather with others, to join a militia, to have a flak jacket, to have a silencer on their weapon, to smoke some weed, snort some crack, snort some cocaine, those are all your rights to do so. Your right to privacy, right? Not to be, pulled over by the popo because they don't like that you're driving 15 miles over the speed limit, even though you're not driving recklessly, even though you're not hurting anybody, even though you haven't crashed or caused a crash. You're just driving. Yeah. You haven't caused harm to yourself or or other people. You're just driving faster than the goddamn posted speed limit. No, all that shit would go away if any president had the balls to evoke or invoke those two codes. 18, look it up. 18 U.S. Code 241 and 242. And it doesn't just say rights. It says rights and privileges. Yeah. It covers privileges. Right? So a privilege is a right. You have a right to enjoy the privileges that you see fit. If Donald Trump has the balls and he's being hamstrung by Senate Majority Leader goddamn John Thune, he can say, you know what? I don't need you. I don't need you. I don't need you to ensure people have the right to keep their arms and the right to free speech. What we're going to do is I'm going to say, if you violate people's rights under the color of law, using these gun laws, these gun control laws, you will be put to jail. We will arrest you. Yeah, that's how you do that. I will have my Justice Department start making arrests. And guess what? He will have standing. So if it goes to the Supreme Court, if it goes all the way through the courts, because he's going to get sued for it. But, I mean, the language is clear. The language in 18 U.S. Code 241 and 242 is clear. It covers rights and privileges. So they can't hit you with the bullshit of, oh, well, driving a car is a privilege. Hey, it's protected by 18 U.S. Code 241 and 18 U.S. Code 242. Try again. Oh, using the pogo stick is all that bullshit, all this privilege versus rights bullshit that these people spew to you to justify violating you. No, that shit don't fly. It don't apply. If it don't apply, it don't motherfucking fly. So guess what? Donald Trump has a path. to get the shit done that he wants done. He has a path to ensure that our money does not continue to be sent to goddamn Ukraine, Israel, or any other fucking country. That that our money stays right here and is used for good shit. He has the ability to greatly reduce the amount of taxes or extortion we are victims of, right? Because yeah, it says the Congress has the right to, you know, the duty to lay and collect taxes, right? But it was not supposed to be no goddamn payroll tax. You're not supposed to you're not supposed to be taxed 18 times over, right? And it was really for the corporations. The corporations were, even that's violative, right? Because corporations are owned by private individuals. So in reality, taxes are a violation of rights. So therefore, you could use 18 U.S. Code 241 and 242 to make sure that people aren't getting taxed. Now, what you would hope is that people would voluntarily, right? Voluntarily take a portion of their income and say, look, this is what I'm going to give you to run the fucking government, but this is the amount I'm going to voluntarily give to you, and this is what I do not want it to be used for. I don't want it to be used for overseas bullshit, because remember, taxation, no taxation without representation. Remember that shit? No one's getting your input before they take your money and spend it. No. They just gonna use your money for whatever the fuck they want to use it for. Anyway, by hearing by, and hearing by was good. Well, most laws are illegal, right? If you strip it down, all the way down, there would be very few laws on the books, because what laws are supposed to do is prevent crime or to punish people for committing crime. Well, in order to commit a crime, you need a victim. 99.9% of laws have nothing to do with the person who violate them creating victims. Most of the laws do not punish criminals. That's just a fact. You understand? There are laws that do punish criminals, like laws against murder, robbery, physical assault, destruction of property, right? Property that is not yours, right? These are actual crimes, right? You don't need thousands of laws to cover those, right? Laws are put in place to further control the population. That's just the bottom line to it. And the more they can get away with doing that, the more they're going to put on the books. You know what I'm saying? If we continue to accept these so-called laws, right, being foisted upon us, they will continue to create more laws that continue to become, that continue to be more and more violative, right? It's a slippery slope. It's not the slippery slope fallacy, right? It's not fallacious to state that, because that's the reality. The more control you give them over your life, the more they're going to take. And the more they're going to put in writing that they can further violate you. They're going to put it in writing because you're going to allow it. You're going to say, oh, well, they passed this law. God damn it. I guess I got to, obey it. Right? The more we continue to do that, the more so-called laws they will create. By hearing by says, seems that the criminals are the lawmakers. Yes, absolutely. Yes, that is the point. That's why you use 18 U.S. Code 241 and 18 U.S. Code 242. Why do you think they separated the branches? Why do you think there's a separation of powers? There's supposed to be checks and balances. Well, the executive branch is supposed to make sure that laws are enforced. Well, if you have 18 U.S. Code 241 and 242, but then you also have all these contradictory laws that indeed violate people's rights if they are enforced, well, then it is your duty, right, to enforce the correct laws, like 18 U.S. Code 241 and 18 U.S. Code 242. Those two codes give you the ability to ensure that you do not violate people's rights. That's why it's there. But no one uses it. No president, no mayor, no governor, none of that. None of them have used this law to make sure that people's rights aren't violated. And guess what? That makes everybody. That makes them complicit. Brenda Emil was good. That makes them complicit of violating your rights. So guess what? They all need to go. They're standing to ensure that all those people are placed in prison and essentially put to death, because that's what it calls for. I'm not calling for the death of these individuals. I'm saying that the 18 U.S. Code 241 and 242 has language within it that calls for the death penalty if you violate it under the color of law. Why do you think it says under the color of law? That means that motherfuckers are using law to violate people's rights. And those that do that, now if you just violate someone's rights and it doesn't result in kidnapping and physical assault and all that, well, you just get up to a year in prison and a fine. But if someone ends up getting kidnapped, hurt, anything, guess what? Your ass can go to the gallows. That's what it calls for. Absolutely. So I just thought I'd leave you guys with that. We'll see what happens, man. But we know damn well Donald Trump is not going to invoke those codes to protect our rights. Why would he? He's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. What he's going to do is he's going to do this whole song and dance with the Senate and the Congress, and shit's going to get held up in the Senate, and they're going to threaten to unseat John Thune and all these other things. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a big song and dance like it always is. And 3 years is going to go by and none of our rights are going to be restored. As a matter of fact, in Trump's last term, he helped multiple states get red flag laws going. He told his ATF to basically, by fiat, told them to ban bump stocks, which was completely out of line, right? He didn't get that passed through. He didn't get that passed into a law. No, he used goddamn the ATF to change language to insert bump stocks into the NFA. So these are things that Donald Trump has already done. So he hasn't proven that he's pro 2A. He just hasn't. I mean, what law has he signed? What law did he sign in his last term that restored any rights? Not just to 2A, but any right. As a matter of fact, he's pro asset forfeiture, civil asset forfeiture. And he was the one who said, I like take the guns first, due process second. He told you where he stood right then and there. So, I mean, was he just blowing smoke up the Democrats' ass to get them off? Like, what was he doing? So it is what it is. The fact that people think it's okay for money to be seized by states for getting it through selling drugs is okay and unfathomable. They're the criminals. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Anyway, y'all, I'm gonna get off of here. Thank you guys for coming through. Please hit that like button on the way out. And, you know, just think about that, man. If you're a statist and you're pro-Trump, just think about that. Think about how they just inserted this John Thune guy, who also is pro sending our money to Ukraine and Israel. Just so y'all know, that motherfucker wants to send money to Israel and Ukraine. So just think about that. I don't know that Mike how Kamala ran through $1 billion. How did the Pentagon lose trillions of dollars right before 9/11? I have no idea. These motherfuckers don't know. That's why I tried to tell y'all. The government they cannot produce anything. They're always going to lose. They always lose. The government always loses. You understand? You lose when you participate, and when you give money, you know, when you get extorted, you lose. You don't get a return. Anyway, much love, guys. Like, share, subscribe, and we're gonna keep marching forward towards freedom. Peace.